Lazy at gardening? Yet you still secretly long for a vibrant yard that stops neighbors dead in their tracks? Let's be honest, you've probably been there. You get hyped up, hit the local nursery, and buy all the fancy gardening tools. You save dozens of gorgeous backyard designs on your phone, promising yourself that this year your yard will look like a living postcard. But then real life hits hard. The endless daily grind takes over. Between your job and your family, you manage to water your new plants exactly twice, then completely ghost them for 2 straight weeks because you were just too exhausted. By the time you finally step out into the backyard, half of those once vibrant greens have given up, drooping and withered. A wave of guilt washes over you every time you glance at those barren patches of dirt, regretting all the hard work and cash down the drain. Stop beating yourself up right now. You do not have a black thumb, and the biggest mistake isn't your lack of talent. The truth is, you've been falling for generic cookie-cutter advice or picking high-maintenance dramatic divas that demand to be coddled like newborn babies. Today, I am here to give you a reality check and help you steer clear of those expensive gardening money pits. I have meticulously put together a definitive list of 15 perennial plants known as the ultimate immortal warriors. Nature engineered these things for busy people and forgetful minds. They are tailor-made for anyone who wants to outsmart weeds without breaking a sweat. But before you rush out to the nearest garden center, you absolutely need to hear about plant number 8. This specific plant is a true ace up the sleeve for top-tier landscape architects across America and Europe. It will instantly transform your backyard into a high-end, 5-star resort paradise, and it packs a built-in defense mechanism that keeps deer, rabbits, and slugs far away. Now, let's tackle the single biggest nightmare of every homeowner, the endless, back-breaking chore of pulling weeds. Group 1. The weed-crushing ground covers. Plant 1. Creeping phlox. You've probably heard self-proclaimed gardening gurus say the only way to kill weeds is to break your back pulling them every weekend or dump toxic chemicals all over your soil. Completely block out that exhausting nonsense. Smart, effortlessly efficient homeowners never waste their precious weekends weeding. Instead, they plant creeping phlox. In the early days of spring, this incredible plant puts on a spectacular show. It spreads at a lightning pace, erupting into a dense blanket of hot pink, deep lavender, and crisp white. The blossoms pack so tightly that you cannot see a single green leaf underneath. Once the blooming season ends, your ground transforms into a lush, rich green carpet that weaves itself tightly together, covering ugly rocks or steep barren slopes. This heavy-duty living shield completely blocks out sunlight, suffocating stubborn weed seeds before they ever get a chance to sprout. Here's a quick pro tip. A lot of beginners complain that it looks a bit ragged after a few seasons. The fix is incredibly simple. Once the initial flower show wraps up, just take a pair of shears and lightly skim across the top of the plant. This single quick haircut stimulates dense new growth, keeping your living carpet looking neat, tidy, and beautifully green all year round with zero tedious weeding. Plant 2. Liriope. If you are dealing with severely compacted, bone-dry dirt right along your house foundation or driveway where absolutely nothing seems to survive, it is time to call in Liriope. People frequently mistake this plant for a basic turf grass, but it is actually a tough-as-nails flowering perennial from the asparagus family. Liriope features long, glossy, dark green ribbons of foliage that arch gracefully, keeping an impeccably clean silhouette. By late summer, it shoots up elegant spikes of deep purple or pure white flowers. The ultimate superpower of Liriope is its sheer refusal to die. Rock-hard clay soil or suffocating dense shade, it thrives anyway. Forgot to water it for an entire month? Its massive, aggressive root system quietly digs deep into the earth to find hidden moisture, forming an impenetrable underground bio-wall that chokes out invasive weeds. Keep this crucial detail in mind at the nursery. Look specifically for Liriope muscari, not Liriope spicata. The spicata variety sends out wild underground runners that aggressively invade your entire yard. Liriope muscari, however, grows in neat, polite, controlled clumps that are incredibly easy to manage. All you have to do is run a lawnmower over the base once at the end of winter to clear out old foliage and make room for fresh spring growth. Plant 3. Hardy geranium. Now, let's welcome a true powerhouse to replace a highly overrated plant, catmint. Someone has definitely told you to plant catmint because of its pretty purple flowers, but they forgot to mention that when catmint gets baked under the hot summer sun, it often gets incredibly floppy and messy. To make matters worse, every cat in a 5-mile radius will come, roll all over it, and turn your backyard into their personal playground. The perfect answer is hardy geranium, specifically known as cranesdell. This plant is absolutely worshipped by seasoned estate gardeners across the United Kingdom. It forms low, wide-spreading mounds featuring deeply divided, intricately detailed foliage and beautiful, delicate cups of airy purple, soft blue, or gentle pink. Hardy geranium offers exceptional ground coverage, turning empty dirt patches into a strict no-fly zone for weeds. This plant is an absolute nightmare for pests, slugs, and deer who completely ignore it due to its unique texture of its leaves. Even better, after the first heavy bloom in early summer when the mound looks a bit floppy, just take your garden shears and aggressively cut the entire plant straight down to the ground. Within just 2 weeks, it will bounce back with a completely fresh set of beautiful leaves and reward you with a spectacular second wave of flowers in late summer. Group 2. The Immortal Sun Worshippers and Drought Warriors. Plant 4. Black-Eyed Susan. Moving into the middle layer of your garden bed, the intense zone where the blazing sun beats down without mercy, we find the classic Black-Eyed Susan. This native North American wildflower brings the raw beauty of the iconic American prairies, featuring brilliant golden yellow petals that radiate outward from a deep chocolate-brown central cone. Black-eyed Susans are so tough they are practically bulletproof. Having spent thousands of years evolving to survive completely on their own, they require zero artificial fertilizer or complex irrigation systems. They stand tall and proud along scorching highways during brutal summer droughts and thrive in completely nutrient-depleted soil. The greatest strength of the Black-eyed Susan is its aggressive ability to self-seed, which means a single clump can turn into a massive colony by next year. What is the ultimate lazy hack here? In late autumn, simply spend exactly 5 minutes cutting off the dried flower heads before their seeds can catch the wind. On the flip side, if you want to cover a large patch of empty ground completely for free, just step back and let Mother Nature do all the heavy lifting. Plant 5. Coneflower. Right next to Black-eyed Susan, you will almost always find its essential partner, the coneflower, scientifically known as echinacea. These large daisy-like blossoms feature unique downward-sweeping petals that proudly show off a prominent spiky cone-shaped center, offering a stunning color palette from classic purple and rich magenta to stark white, fiery orange, and bright yellow. Coneflower is the absolute definition of resilience. It develops a deep, heavy taproot that anchors itself far down into the earth to drink from deep underground water reserves, allowing the plant to look completely unfazed during prolonged summer heat waves. Rocky, sandy soil or completely depleted dirt won't slow this plant down for a second. Here's a smart yard cleanup tip. Amateurs make a massive mistake every autumn by cutting coneflowers straight down to the ground because they think the dead stalks look messy. Absolutely do not do that. Leave those dry, dark cone heads completely intact through the winter. Those hard centers are packed with highly nutritious seeds. When freezing winter days arrive, flocks of beautiful goldfinches and songbirds will land on the sturdy stalks to enjoy a free winter feast, giving you a front row seat to a beautiful nature show right outside your window. Plant 5. Coneflower. Right next to Black-eyed Susan, you will almost always find its essential partner, the coneflower, scientifically known as echinacea. These large, daisy-like blossoms feature unique downward-sweeping petals that proudly show off a prominent, spiky, cone-shaped center, offering a stunning color palette from classic purple and rich magenta to stark white, fiery orange, and bright yellow. Coneflower is the absolute definition of resilience. It develops a deep, heavy taproot that anchors itself far down into the earth to drink from deep underground water reserves, allowing the plant to look completely unfazed during prolonged summer heat waves. Rocky, sandy soil or completely depleted dirt won't slow this plant down for a second. Here is a smart yard cleanup tip. Amateurs make a massive mistake every autumn by cutting coneflowers straight down to the ground because they think the dead stalks look messy. Absolutely do not do that. Leave those dried, dark cone heads completely intact through the winter. Those hard centers are packed with highly nutritious seeds. When freezing winter days arrive, flocks of beautiful goldfinches and songbirds will land on the sturdy stalks to enjoy a free winter feast, giving you a front-row seat to a beautiful nature show right outside your window. Plant 6. Yarrow. Yarrow introduces a completely different architectural texture to your landscape. It features flat, tightly packed flower clusters that look like beautiful umbrella-like blooms hovering over a bed of rich, feathery, fern-like green leaves, ranging from intense reds and warm terracotta to bright yellows and soft creams. The rugged durability of yarrow is legendary among professional landscapers. It laughs at severe drought, thrives in soil with zero nutrients, and tolerates blistering summer days. You have definitely heard someone say that to get massive blooms, you need to buy expensive fertilizers. With yarrow, doing that will actually ruin it. When yarrow gets too many nutrients from rich soil or fertilizer, it grows upward at a frantic, unnatural pace. The stems become weak, hollow, and snap under a gentle breeze. The ultimate lazy survival strategy is to toss yarrow into the absolute worst, most neglected, bone-dry corners of your property. The more you ignore it and the poorer the soil is, the shorter, sturdier, and more compact it stays, bursting into a magnificent explosion of color. Plant 7. Coreopsis. If you want an absolute blooming machine that works tirelessly from the first days of summer until the very first frost of winter rolls in, Coreopsis is your best bet. These bright, sunny little flowers blanket the plant like warm rays of sunshine, sitting on top of delicate thread-like stems that are incredibly flexible and tough. Coreopsis is another elite heat-tolerant warrior that adapts beautifully to vastly different climates and requires no special soil mix to thrive. Here is a brilliant variety selection trick that saves 90% of your gardening effort. With standard flowers, to keep the blooms coming, you have to do a tedious chore called deadheading, walking around every week, hand-clipping every single withered flower. But modern plant breeding has completely solved this issue. When you shop for plants, look specifically for varieties labeled as self-cleaning, like the threadleaf Coreopsis family. When the old flowers finish blooming, they automatically dry up, drop off, and vanish without a trace. Your garden stays perfectly clean and immaculate without you ever lifting a single finger. The special showstopper, the show-stopping masterpiece. Plant 8. Russian sage. And here it is. We have finally made it to plant number 8, the incredible surprise I promised you at the very beginning. Forget about your basic, boring green shrubs. Russian sage delivers an entirely different level of luxury to a landscape. From midsummer all the way through autumn, this plant shoots up stiff, chalky, silver-white stems covered in an airy cloud of tiny lavender-blue flowers. From a distance, the entire bush looks like a magical, hazy purple mist floating gracefully in the wind, catching every ray of late-afternoon sunlight and instantly making nearby basic flowers look 5 times more expensive. The absolute best part? Deer, rabbits, and destructive pests completely despise Russian sage. Its silver leaves are packed with potent essential oils that emit a sharp, pungent fragrance that animals hate, but humans find incredibly relaxing. It withstands intense droughts, stands strong against howling windstorms, and absolutely hates fertilizer. Homeowners often complain that after a few seasons, their plant turns into a messy pile of dead, woody sticks at the bottom, while the top flops all over the place. That is the direct result of letting a semi-woody perennial grow completely wild for too long. Simply apply the one-snip rule at the very end of winter or early spring. Take big pruners and cut the entire bush straight down to just 6 inches above the ground. This single decisive cut wakes up the dormant buds at the base, forcing them to shoot up into perfectly straight, ultra-sturdy new stems that never flop and bloom heavily from top to bottom. Group 2. The Immortal Sun Worshippers. Plant 9. Perennial Salvia. Carrying on the gorgeous theme of rich, luxurious purple tones, we have perennial salvia. This plant grows into perfectly neat, upright mounds, sending up sharp, uniform spikes packed with deep violet, royal purple, or bright neon pink blossoms. The foliage features a gorgeous gray-green tint, a slightly rough texture, and releases an incredible, rich herbal aroma every single time you brush past it. Salvia is the ultimate choice for clean borders or weaving texture through the middle of your garden beds. It handles intense heat waves and severe droughts with total ease once its roots settle in. Just like its close relative, Russian sage, the heavy concentration of essential oils in its leaves acts as a natural firewall, causing deer and rabbits to lose interest instantly. The #1 reason salvia completely vanishes after a single winter is planting it in low-lying spots where heavy clay soil holds onto stagnant water. This plant would much rather starve for water than sit in wet soil. If its root system stays submerged for more than 48 hours, it will rot out completely. The only trick to maintaining its breathtaking beauty is simple. After the spectacular first bloom in early summer, use your shears to cut the faded flower spikes right down to the main green leaf mound. This takes exactly 2 minutes of your time, but it forces the plant to launch a brilliant second wave of flowers right at the end of summer. Plant 10. Lavender. You have definitely heard someone claim that lavender is incredibly easy to grow. Just throw it out in the yard, ignore it, and it will automatically thrive. So you believe them, buy an expensive lavender plant, water it carefully every single evening, and watch it turn pitch black and die within a matter of weeks. Let's face the cold hard facts. Lavender is one of the most frequently killed plants in the world because people completely misunderstand its core personality. At its genetic core, lavender is a wild shrub born in the rocky, sun-baked, wind-swept hills of the Mediterranean. It craves harsh conditions, hungers for intense, blistering sunlight, and absolutely detests moisture. It wants poor, rocky, sandy soil that drains water away at absolute lightning speed. If you're the kind of person who constantly forgets to water your plants, lavender will absolutely love you. On the other hand, if you love walking around with a garden hose every single evening, please stay far away from this plant. Here is a simple hack to give the plant flawless drainage. If you live in a rainy climate or have heavy, moisture-retaining soil, simply buy a cheap bag of construction sand or fine pea gravel when you dig your planting mold. Mix 50% of your native garden soil with 50% of that sand and gravel before placing the plant in the ground. This setup forces rainwater to drain away instantly, keeping the crown of the plant completely dry. Additionally, every single year in early spring, trim back about 1/3 of the plant's height, making sure you never cut into the old, bare wood that has no leaves, keeping your lavender mound perfectly round and fragrant. Plant 11. Sedum. To wrap up our elite group of sun-loving drought warriors, no plant deserves the crown more than Sedum Autumn Joy. This is an upright, succulent perennial featuring thick, plump jade-green leaves that act as built-in water storage tanks. This plant is a true survivalist, able to go an entire month without a single drop of rain, thrive in poor sandy gravel, and bake under intense sunlight all day long while looking completely flawless. The absolute best feature of Sedum Autumn Joy is its dramatic color transformation across all 4 seasons. In early summer, the plant produces large, flat flower clusters that look exactly like heads of green broccoli. By late summer, those clusters slowly open up, blushing into a soft baby pink. As autumn arrives, the color intensifies into a rich, vibrant magenta before deep diving into a stunning rusty red and antique copper tone as the weather cools. Here's a piece of real-world advice. Do not ever fertilize your sedum. The richer and more fertile the soil is, the fatter and weaker those juicy stems become, causing the heavy flower heads to flop over completely and look incredibly messy. Let it live a tough, neglected life, and when winter arrives, leave those dried, copper-colored flower heads standing proud in the cold to catch the falling snow and create a stunning, romantic view across your yard. Group 3. The Shade Conquerors and Clay Crushers. Plant 12. Hosta. Now, let's leave the blistering sun behind and step into the dark, damp, neglected corners of your property, underneath the heavy canopy of large trees or along the north-facing side of your house. Someone has definitely told you that because a corner gets zero sunlight, you can't grow anything beautiful there. Completely discard that thought right now and plant hosta. This plant is the undisputed king of the shade garden, worshipped for its giant, highly architectural leaves that offer a stunning array of patterns from deep forest greens and cool metallic blues to bright chartreuse and high-contrast white borders. Hostas are incredibly easy to grow, coming back bigger, bolder, and more impressive after every single winter, requiring absolutely zero meticulous care from you. But let's address a real issue if you have a lot of wildlife in your area. Lush hosta leaves are a premium gourmet snack for slugs and deer. If deer are a common sight in your neighborhood, you might want to skip hostas and plant brunera instead. But if you are fighting a war against slugs, the lazy gardener solution is beautiful. Skip the toxic chemicals, simply save your kitchen eggshells, crush them up into sharp, jagged little pieces, and scatter a wide ring around the base of your hosta. Slugs have incredibly soft, sensitive bodies and flat-out refuse to crawl over sharp obstacles, keeping your architectural leaves pristine. Plant 13. Astilbe. If the shady corners of your property are not just dark, but also plagued by heavy, wet clay soil that drains poorly, the exact kind of mud that kills off drought-loving plants, astilbe is your absolute dream solution. In complete contrast to lavender or sedum, astilbe is one of the very few perennials that actively thrives in consistently moist, heavy clay environments. In early summer, rising above a bed of lush, deeply cut green foliage that looks exactly like woodland ferns, astilbe sends up magnificent feathery plumes of flowers. They look exactly like soft, colorful fireworks frozen mid-air, coming in spectacular shades of pastel pink, fiery red, crisp white, and deep lavender, instantly illuminating the darkest, dimmest corners of your backyard landscape. Here is a quick adjustment based on your local climate. If your local climate gets intensely hot with long, scorching summers, you might notice your astilbe leaves getting crispy and brown around July because this plant cannot tolerate brutal, direct afternoon sun. Make sure to plant your astilbe in a spot that receives gentle morning sunlight but sits in total shade all afternoon, while ensuring the soil stays naturally moist. Other than that simple placement choice, it is completely self-sufficient. Group 4. The climate resistors and four-season anchors. Plant 14. Daylilies. Moving into the back layer of your garden beds, where you need larger, ultra-resilient plants to anchor the landscape and handle extreme weather conditions, from sub-zero winter freezes to blistering summer heat waves, daylilies are an exceptionally tough choice. There are over 80,000 registered varieties of daylilies across the globe, growing into massive, dense mounds of arching, ribbon-like green foliage, topped with large, showy blossoms. Daylilies adapt effortlessly to almost any soil condition on the planet: heavily compacted clay, nutrient-poor sand, eroding slopes, or wind-swept fence lines. They grow so thick and dense that not a single weed can manage to break through their massive, interlocking root systems. Here is a highly critical safety warning if you have pets at home. An individual daylily flower opens up for exactly 1 day and then dies, but a single stem carries so many buds that the entire blooming show lasts for weeks. However, daylilies are highly toxic to cats. If a curious cat nibbles on a tiny piece of a leaf or licks some fallen pollen off its fur, it can trigger sudden, severe kidney failure. Interestingly, they are completely harmless to dogs and other animals. So, if you have adventurous cats that love hanging out in your yard, completely cross daylilies off your list to keep your furry friends 100% safe. Plant 15. Karl Forster grass. And finally, our 15th plant. I deliberately saved this one for the grand finale because I want this specific name burned into your memory: Karl Forster feather reed grass. Do not think of ornamental grass as some wild weed that grows out of control. Karl Forster is a living masterpiece of modern landscape design. This grass grows in a perfectly tight, strictly upright column, reaching 4 to 6 feet tall and never flops over or sends out wild invasive runners to take over your yard. In late spring, it sends up soft, feathery green flower plumes that transform by midsummer into a rich, deep golden tan color that looks exactly like a mature field of wheat. When autumn rolls around, the entire plant shifts into a breathtaking copper-bronze sculpture. But the true magic happens in the dead of winter. When every other flower in your garden has completely withered away into gray winter mush, Karl Forster still stands tall and proud in the middle of a snowstorm, swaying gracefully in the freezing winter wind. The care schedule for this plant is unbelievably minimal, requiring exactly one chore, one single time per year. At the very end of winter, right before the fresh green shoots of spring start to peek out from the soil, take a large pair of garden shears and cut the entire bundle of grass straight across, about 5 inches above the ground, like giving it a clean buzz cut. And just like that, your maintenance duties are completely done for the entire year. Let's bring this entire strategy together into a crystal-clear visual guide for you. To design a stunning, ultra-low maintenance yard, all you have to do is match the right plant to the specific conditions of your space. If you are sick and tired of weeds taking over your walkways, paths, or steep hillsides, go with the ultimate ground cover trio: creeping phlox, liriope, and hardy geranium. If you are dealing with dark, damp, problematic corners with heavy clay soil, rely on hosta and astilbe. If you have a wide-open yard baked by intense, scorching sunlight where you constantly forget to water, plant black-eyed Susan, coneflower, yarrow, coreoxys, salvia, lavender, and sedum. And finally, to inject that high-end 5-star resort structure that looks incredible across all 4 seasons, invest in Russian sage and Karl Forster grass. The honest truth I want to leave you with before we wrap up today is this: you do not need some magical genetic talent for growing plants. You do not need to sacrifice your precious weekend hours doing hard labor under a blistering sun. The only thing you need to do is make smart, calculated choices right at the garden center. Do not try to be overly ambitious and plant all 15 varieties at once. Today, step out into your backyard. Pick out one single spot that frustrates you the most. Select exactly 3 plants from this list that fit that specific environment perfectly. Put them in the ground, water them thoroughly for the first few weeks so their roots anchor deep into the soil, and then step back and let nature do the rest. You will be absolutely amazed, wondering why you wasted so much time, money, and energy on high-maintenance, dramatic plants for all these years. There is no better feeling than walking out to your yard on a beautiful summer morning, holding a warm cup of coffee, staring at a stunning paradise, and smiling with pride knowing you created all of this completely effortlessly. If today's video gave you a helpful breakthrough, hit that subscribe button right now and turn on the notification bell. Every single week, I am right here sharing practical, no-nonsense tips to elevate your outdoor spaces the easiest way possible for busy people. Leave a comment below and tell me which plant from our list are you going to start with first. I will be reading your comments and chatting with you down there. Now, let's get out there and transform your space. You have all the knowledge you need. I will see you in the very next video.